Mayor Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Angel.
Here.
Commissioner Arbkey.
Here.
Commissioner Jennings.
Here.
Commissioner Peck.
Here.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we have the Citizens Forum. This is where anyone from the public can come up and speak on any topic not on today's agenda. If you have something, you can come up to the podium, give us your name and address. And being that there is no one, we will move on to awards and proclamations.
Item 4.1, the month of April 2010 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Salina. Cora Williams, NAACP Senior Advisor, will read the proclamation.
Good afternoon. Proclamation of the City of Salina, Kansas. Whereas the month of April marks the 42nd anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, and whereas fair housing is the policy of the City of Salina, implementation of the policy requires the positive commitment, involvement, and support of each of our citizens. Whereas the Human Relations Commission and the city and the Department of the City of Salina are to provide leadership in the effort to make fair housing not just an idea, but ideal for all our citizens. And whereas barriers that diminish the rights and limit the options of any citizen will ultimately diminish the rights and limit the options of all. And whereas, since fair housing is consistent with the principle of equality and justice for all, principles upon which our nation was founded, all of us need to share in the fight to ensure fair housing is a reality of all Americans. And so now, therefore, I, M. Lucy Lawson, Mayor of the City of Salina, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2010 as Fair Housing Month. I urge all our citizens to join in this observance by resolving to fight discrimination in their personal daily lives and by making themselves aware of the fair housing law and the ways in which it applies to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Salina, Kansas, to be affixed this 5th day of April 2010. M. Lucy Lawson, Mayor.
And may I say, I have never heard a proclamation read with such passion as I did today. You did a wonderful job. Are there any events or anything scheduled in observance of the Fair Housing Month?
Yes, ma'am. We have quite a few things scheduled this year. For the first time, we're going to actually take workshops out to the public. We're taking our tenant presentations to Marketplace Apartments on April 6th, Salina Apartments April 7th, Smoky Hill Villa Apartments on April 8th, Willow Grove Apartments April 13th, Reserves at Prairie Glen April 14th, Oakdale Plaza Apartments April 15th, Pioneer President's Place April 16th. And the one at Pioneer's President's Place is open to the public because they do have the auditorium. And there were some places that we contacted that They have a community room, but they're stored with stuff, and they didn't really have a place for their tenants to meet. So they have graciously agreed that we could open that one to the public. ARC is April 26th, and Chapel Ridge Apartments are April 27th. The focus will be Do You Know Your Rights and Responsibilities, and the Kansas Residential Landlord and Tenant Act and the Fair Housing Act. And then on April 29th, we will have the landlord presentation, and that is free and open to the public. It will be at the Friendship Center from 8 o'clock until noon that day. And our director, Gina McDonald, will doing a presentation on companion animals. Judy Irvin, of Neighborhood Coordinator of the Planning and Community Development Department for the City of Salina, will be talking about the codes. And the Kansas Department of Health and Environment representative will be talking to us about new rules and regulations in lead paint. And then we have Lance Cochran, who's an associate of the firm of Kennedy, Berkeley, Yarnovic, and Williamson, and he will be doing a presentation on laws and specializations in Legal Housing Act.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, we are. And they're all free and open to the public.
Okay, thank you. I have a signed proclamation for you.
Item 4.2, the month of April 2010 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the day of April 29th as Denim Day in the City of Salina. Claudette Almaraz, Sexual Assault Victim Advocate with DVAC, will read the proclamation.
Whereas sexual assault is an intolerable violent crime with public health implications for every person in Salina, as a victim, survivor, or as a family member, significant other, neighbor, or coworker of a victim survivor. And whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support victim survivors and their significant others, and increase support for agencies providing services to victim survivors. And whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas has led the way in Salina in addressing sexual assault by providing 24-hour hotline services to victim survivors and their significant others, responding to emergency calls, offering support and comfort to those impacted by sexual assault during medical exams, criminal proceedings, and empowering those impacted by sexual assault to chart their own course for healing. And whereas ending sexual assault in Salina must include active public and private efforts to end sexual violence in collaboration with the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas, including conversation about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with crucial counseling and other support services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. And whereas staff and volunteers of sexual assault programs in Salina work year-round to encourage every person in Salina to end sexual violence and to support survivors by providing prevention education and survivor empowerment information to schools, churches, civic organizations, as well as medical, mental health, law enforcement, education, and criminal justice personnel regarding sexual assault issues. Whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas has set an important example of how forging collaborative relationships between service agencies and organizations serves to improve the quality of service for those most profoundly and directly impacted by sexual violence, thus setting an important example for how the rest of the community might work together to speak out and find solutions to sexual violence. Whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas requests public support and assistance as it continues its effort to bring real hope for freeing Salina from the tragedy of sexual violence, to create a future where all women, men, and children can live free from violence and exploitation. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Larson, Mayor of Salina, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2010 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Do you have any activities or any events planned in awareness?
Yes, we have numerous displays throughout the city of Salina. We'll also be doing presentations at the local middle and high schools as well as the college and universities here in town. This Thursday, we'll be holding a candlelight vigil at the University United Methodist Church, which is on Santa Fe across from Kansas Wesleyan. We'll be doing that in conjunction with the Kansas Wesleyan nursing students and Professor John Burchell. We also have a Flush Out Sexual Violence campaign, which is a really neat campaign because it's everyone uses the restroom. And in public places, we literally put it on the back of the door, so as you're using the restroom and walking out of the restroom, it kind of hits you that we need to get rid of and do everything we can to eradicate sexual violence in our communities.
Okay, thank you. And then you have another.
Yes.
And so they kind of go hand in hand?
Right, and this is actually one of the events we'll be having, which is Denim Day, which will be April 29th of this month.
Okay.
Whereas Salina steps forward to take a stand against rape, and whereas there are sexual assault prevention and education efforts underway throughout Salina and the nation to challenge the societal myths and behaviors that perpetuate rape and to engage communities in a common goal of ending sexual assault. And whereas April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. And whereas International Denim Day has been observed since April 1999 as a symbol of protest in response to an Italian high court decision to overturn a rape conviction because the victim wore jeans. Every year since, community members, elected officials, businesses, and students have organized to make a social statement with their fashion statement and wear jeans as a visible sign of protest against myths that surround sexual assault. And whereas Salina is dedicated to support the Denim Day initiative as there is no excuse and never an invitation to rape, and whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas has worked to coordinate Denim Day 2010, now, therefore, I, Lucy Larson, Mayor of the City of Salina, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2010 as Denim Day.
What day of the week does that fall on?
Thursday.
So on that Thursday, it's been promoted to wear your jeans
Yes.
to work.
Yes.
Okay. I have a signed proclamation for you.
Okay, thank you.
I have two really for you.
Thank you so much.
Oh. We don't have any public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time, so we will move on to the consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of March 22nd, 2010. Item 6.2, resolution number 106720, appointing Jim Manley to the Building Advisory Board. Item 6.3, award a contract for the 2010 crack and joint sealing project number 102789 to Missouri Pavement Maintenance in the amount not to exceed $150,000.
Is there an item that a commissioner wishes to have pulled from the consent agenda?
I would like to pull 6.3.
Okay, so we will pull out 6.3. Do we discuss that now, or do I need a motion to pass the other things on the consent agenda?
I think you'd want to proceed with the remaining items.
Okay, I need a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda excluding item 6.3.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda with just the two items that remain. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. On item 6.3, Mr. Stack.
Yes.
Mr. Stack, I think if you'd been in study session, you know why I pulled this item. I'm seeing that the total bid was $98,000 and change, and yet we're wanting to award them the contract not to exceed $150,000. What's the plan? Is staff going to go out and find additional repairs that need to be done? Is that the thought?
Yep. Yeah, we had a really good bidding climate this year, significantly better than last year's, and so we were high on our estimate, and we had a very competitive bid, and so we felt like that would help us crack seal some more streets around the city, and we have plenty that haven't been done before, and we have quite a few that need it. So we just felt like we didn't go up to the $200,000 for the reasons that you've talked about, that we felt like we're still trying to give ourselves some margin on our capital improvement program, but $150,000 in crack seal would really be a good thing for the city streets at this time.
Will you then, will their rate add another 50%? Did they bid it on a basis of?
Yep, just unit prices. So it's it's a per pound of crack seal basically. So we just continue on till we get to a certain till we get to 150,000 basically. So we have quite a few areas of streets that haven't been crack sealed or need to be crack sealed, and it's kind of the biggest bang for our buck for the city. We can microsurface and mill and inlay, but a lot of that, it's expensive. Crack seal is kind of the basic maintenance, and it seems to hold streets together well for us. I mean, it's our winter was tough on our streets, so we see a lot of areas that need it right now. So it's we can be fine with 100,000, but 150 gets us 50% more streets than we thought we'd get.
Commissioners, one thing to think about is that on crack sealing, when we look at the total lane miles of streets we have, we should probably be doing about $2 million worth of this a year to get anywhere close to keeping up. And so that's why Dan's talking about the condition of the streets. Some of that we have some overlay issues, but there are a lot of areas where you get the cracks, and when they start, of course, the water gets in, and you get the freeze-thaw impact and all that. So the more you can seal those up, the longer life you have. So it hopefully keeps you out of that perpetual reconstruct all the time, because the streets are just falling apart from the impact of the water and the temperatures. So this, even at 150, this is not a lot of crack sealing in our community.
Well, my initial thought was, if we can save another $50,000, let's do it. But fixing the streets is such a basic infrastructure duty the city has to provide to the citizens. I think probably if we can get it done at a lesser rate, we should go ahead and. We're still saving $50,000. We just aren't saving a full 100.
Right, and then we have other maintenance projects that will come up throughout the year. So we'll hope to continue to get good rates, and maybe ultimately we can save money throughout the year. But at this point, we just need to keep spending money on our streets, basically. We're not in great shape.
And it could potentially prevent larger expenditures.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Stack.
Thank you.
I'll open it up to public comment. And seeing that there is none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mayor, I move we award the contract for the 2010 crack and joint sealing, project number 10-2789.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we award the contract for the 2010 crack and joint sealing, project number 10-2789 to Missouri Pavement Maintenance in an amount not to exceed $150,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. We do not have any development business, so we will move on to administration.
Item 8.1, approve the participation of a joint digital orthographic photography mission in conjunction with the Salina and Dickinson counties.
Mr. Stack.
Yes, we are in the process of trying to partner with the county on a joint aerial mapping mission. And the last that the city done was in 2005, or the city had done was in 2005. And the county approached us this year to look at when to do their mapping as well as ours, and we had been trying to program this for the last few years. Programmed it this year, and in conjunction with them, we felt like we could get a better rate, and we went out and looked at some other contracts around the area, and we did feel like we got a very good rate. And the county had not programmed their money for it this year, so we weren't in a real big hurry because we thought it'd be better to do it with them at the same time. But then they voted last Tuesday to go ahead and fund it, so we felt like this would be a good time to join this contract, and for a good fee. Now, just for example, or comparison's sake, we flew the city in 2005 for around $20,000, and we're getting 3 times as many square miles this time for $30,000. So we feel like that's the point that was a good deal. And this area that we're going to fly that's a little bigger than Salina has a lot to do with our riverine mapping stuff that's going on right now. So we feel like this could help us in the long run for getting those areas, good photography in those areas that could potentially be used in the future for any kind of mapping requests and bridge projects, and all of those contours can actually be purchased later. So it's a good thing for the city at this point. I feel like it was a good deal, and the county was ready to go forth with our concurrence. I'll entertain questions.
How often do we do this?
Try to do it every 4 years, but our last was in 2005, so we're 5 years out at this point. So 4 to 5 years.
When companies and developers request these maps, does the city charge for providing those, or is that something?
We do not. Nope, we have not in the past.
Additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Stack.
Yes, thank you.
I'll open it up to public comment. And seeing that there is none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mayor,
I'd move we authorize city staff to enter into a contract with the Sidwell Company for aerial photography with Salina Dickinson County for a cost not to exceed $30,647.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to contract with the Sidwell Company for the aerial photography with Salina and Dickinson County at a cost not to exceed $30,647. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2, with Jennings and Angel voting nay.
Mayor, I'd move we recess into executive session for 45 minutes to discuss with legal counsel matters subject to the attorney-client privilege for the reason that public discussion of those matters would waive the privilege and adversely affect the city's interest in the matters, and reconvene at 5:05 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recess into executive session for 45 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. Do you anticipate any action?
We do not.
Then we are in executive session.